When I was in the 3rd grade, I was at the library for my weekly visit. Going to the library was a highlight of my life at the time, and I was always looking for a new book to read. On this particular day, I randomly picked up the book, Don't Judge a Girl by Her Cover by Ally Carter. Now, if you're familiar with the Gallinger Girls series, then you're probably wondering that's the 3rd book in the series. And you would be correct. I had no idea I had picked up a series, but realized within 10 pages that I was starting at the wrong book. I went back to the library the next week, picking up I'd Tell You I Love You, But Then I Have to Kill You. I loved it, and it immediately became one of my favorite books. Flash forward to the present, I have my yearly rereads of the Gallinger Girls because there's something about reading a book about teen spies. In a world where James Bond remains a cultural phenomenon, it is no surprise the public is fascinated with watching spies on our television. Spy films have strong ties to British cinema, with Alfred Hitchcock making his mark with spy thrillers, like The Lady Vanishes and Notorious. In the 1940s, the enemies in these films were the Nazis, and when James Bond films began to be released, the enemies reflected the rising threat of communism, with the enemy being the Soviet Union. In regards to the spy genre, the 1960s are known as the genre's peak. The espionage in these films were intriguing to its audience, and over the next 60 years, there seems to have been some revivals in the genre. When thinking about teen spies, there was this element of post-feminism and a recurring message of girl power. These teen girl spies are confident, smart, fashionable, etc., etc. They do everything. The term girl power became popular in the 90s as the term was correlated to the Spice Girls. The message is that girls are capable of anything and girls can work together to accomplish their goals. They can be feminine and like girl things while being the badasses they are. In the late 90s, we saw the popularity of the Powerpuff Girls, which shares similarities with the shows we will talk about today. In this video, we are focusing on television shows Totally Spies, Kim Possible, and Casey Undercover, as well as the iconic 2004 film, Debs. Debs isn't really about teen spies, more like young adults around college age, but work with me here. Scooby-Doo's influence is felt in various shows, and spy shows love to have a nod towards it because they both have young people solving crimes. Totally Spies was created by Vincent Chauvelin Dermosset and David Michel, produced by French animation company Marathon Media. The concept was inspired by the Spice Girls and Clueless. 3 teenage girls, Sam, Clover, and Alex, live in Beverly Hills, California, and work as undercover agents for the World Organization of Human Protection, WHOOP. The basic plot of the episodes are the girls are zapped in some way to WHOOP, get briefed for a mission, receive gadgets, and then stop the bad guys. There might be a B-plot about what is going on in their lives outside of missions, like the trials and tribulations of high school and in the later seasons, college. To classify the girls, Sam is book smart, Clover is boy crazy, and Alex is a bit naive. One episode has Alex feeling like she isn't a big part of the team, which leads to her quitting, but by the end of the episode realizes how valuable she is. In 2002, Kim Possible was created by Bob Schooley and Mark McCorkle, who were told by Disney to develop an animated series that can appeal to a range of audiences. It follows Kim Possible, a teenager in Middleton that's a crime-fighting cheerleader. She's helped by her best friend, Ron Stoppable, and his naked mole rat, Rufus. They are assisted by a computer genius, Wade, who communicates with Kim through a device known as a communicator. There is a recurring cast of villains such as Draken, his sidekick Shigo, Senior and his son, Killigan, and a villain known to be Ron's personal nemesis, Monkey Fist. Kim doesn't go undercover and doesn't have to balance keeping a big secret from her peers. The final television show to introduce is one that isn't a cartoon, not necessarily falling under some of the same conventions as the 2 cartoons that precede it. Casey Undercover stars Zendaya, released in 2015. The show was created by Corinne Marshall. Originally titled Super Awesome Kathy, the show came after Shake It Up concluded. I think about this tweet Zendaya tweeted a couple months before the pilot went into production. I want to bring back the cool Disney Channel, I'm talking That's So Raven, Lizzie McGuire, Proud Family, Kim Possible feel. Y'all know? And Casey Undercover has the vibes of the 4 shows mentioned. It has quick humor and various disguises that became a symbol of That's So Raven. Like Lizzie McGuire, Casey's the same quirkiness and likability. It's like the Proud Family with the pivotal, silly, familiar relationships, and Kim Possible, well, that one is obvious with a crime-fighting teenager that's balancing high academic ambitions while having to save the world before third period. Now on to the only film discussed in this video, 2004's Debs. Debs released at Sundance as a short film in 2003 that led to it becoming a feature film. The film was directed by Angela Robinson. The film follows young girls at a secret spy academy, accepted by their ability on the SATs, a test given to high school students. Debs stands for discipline, energy, beauty, and strength. The girls are trying to stop notorious criminal Lucy Diamond, but what if she's more like one of the girls than they thought? Now, to talk about feminism and what that means for the teen girl spy genre. In regards to third wave feminism, we are beginning to recognize the different perspectives and intersectionality. When thinking about action heroines, it became more popular in the 1960s to 70s, for example, the Charlie's Angels television show. The show's popularity was partially due to the sex appeal of the leads and entertaining the audience with the angels fighting crime. Scholars talked about how this didn't have the ability to critique the patriarchy when the idea of female empowerment was still being linked to the desirability and idealization of femininity. Despite these critiques, Charlie's Angels showed women working together to complete a mission, clever in how they navigated the environment that they were in. These women were more than their appearance. The liberated Wonder Woman in the 1970s contrasts the feminist movements at the turn of the millennium. This was seen as the difference between second and third wave feminism. For young girls/women that were coming into the world in the 90s and the 2000s, the world was changing, with being able to explore their identities and discuss how class, race, and sexuality play into their positions in society. There was this push towards girl power over feminism, distinguishing them from one another. This kept it safe with it being a fun, cultural movement, without wanting radical change. Under girl power, girls were seen as being in a post-feminist age, where gender inequality was not an issue and feminism is no longer needed because girls have freedom that they didn't have before. Lies! With this era of feminism, individuality is a large part of what makes spies do what they do. Girls are able to do anything, and if needed, on their own. All 4 pieces of media have them not only work alone, but on a team. Kim Possible probably works the most alone, with Ron seen as a sidekick, but it is emphasized throughout the show how well they work together, contributing to her success. In Totally Spies, 3 best friends work together with them balancing each other out with their strengths and weaknesses. The girls all have their share of getting kidnapped, tricked, and being the one that saves the day. Casey Undercover works with her family, and she can get help from her best friend that knows her secret, Marissa, while also being guided by her parents and working with her brother and sister, Ernie and Judy. So even though the girls are set to be able to stand on their own, having a community is part of their success. Amy isn't the same confident protagonist we see in the other spy media. She doesn't know what she wants, and Debs is so interesting as a spy film because it's about exploring one's identity and figuring yourself out. Spies are expected to know who they are and be confident in their decisions because it could be a matter of life or death. Even though we see the girls in the other shows question their purpose in life, Amy was the only one that decided not to be a spy anymore. In Casey Undercover, Casey has this line that stuck out to me while watching the first episode. "I'm 16, I haven't even figured out how to live one life." After she feels she has failed on her first mission. She doesn't want a double life. She doesn't want to be a spy girl, just an ordinary girl.
You're extraordinary.
Oh, look, I know you guys keep saying that, but I don't feel extraordinary. Okay? I just feel overwhelmed.
Which this idea of a normal life, admitting that she can't do everything, is something we don't really hear the other spies say, especially this early on. Her admitting this at the beginning of the show has us relate to Casey, as she's more similar to us than we think. One commonality about the early 2000s television shows is the depiction of spies coming from middle-class/upper middle-class backgrounds, the majority of the girls being white. Becoming a spy entails resources that is not available to every girl. Kim Possible didn't even get into crime fighting on purpose, as revealed in Kim Possible Stitch in Time. Kim was creating a website to promote babysitting and lawn mowing. You know, normal things a preteen want to do in her free time to make money. However, with this slogan, "I can do anything," she got a call where a billionaire was trapped in his own laser security system, meaning to contact Team Impossible, a spy agency. Word spread of her using her cheerleading skills to save him, and now she's flooded with messages asking for assistance from around the world. So, is Kim Possible your basic average girl? Not for all. There is more diversity in Casey Undercover and Debs. Casey Undercover is centered on a black family, and even Debs was meant to comment on how spies can come from different backgrounds. The 4 girls in Debs show more diversity than we've seen in the other spy films in regards to how they think and in their appearance. Max is black and is the leader of the group. Amy is the Academy's poster child after she got a perfect score on the SATs. Dominique is Asian and is classified as a sex maniac. Jane is a bit naive and wants approval from Max throughout the film. According to Dangerous Curves, Action Heroines, Gender, Fetishism, and Popular Culture by Jeffrey A. Brown, it says, "The notion of camp, fun, and irony as a political strategy for post-feminism and as an avenue of pleasurable consumption for young women is a point of contention with critics of modern action heroines and the ideology of girl power in general." Here's what the cast has to say about their characters.
The thing that me and Max have in common is that Max is always like the leader of the pack. I guess that's why it's fun to play her.
Janet?
5 minutes.
Have you seen my gun?
There are very few roles that happen a lot where young actresses really get a chance to do comedy and to do action and to have flair and have complexity.
People in Hollywood have a hard time seeing a girl that is cute who can be side-splittingly funny, and they either want you to be hot or they want you to be side-splittingly funny. I want to be dancer. And if you're skinny with blonde hair, then you're a sex pot, bimbo, or you're the girl next door. And that's not me.
To have like the women be the main protagonists and to have the men being the background and being like the beefcakes essentially, that to me was like very, very fulfilling.
Amy is going through a breakup, and her ex-boyfriend, another spy, is asking why they broke up. Amy was realizing how much of her life revolved around being a spy, especially with her dating one. Amy says how she wants more out of life, as in the film it is mentioned how she wants to go to art school. Amy is wondering what is life other than being a spy. Lucy, Amy's eventual girlfriend, allows her to be her true self. According to Dangerous Curves, Action Heroines, Gender, Fetishism, and Popular Culture by Jeffrey A. Brown, it says, "Amy is portrayed as a confused girl, trying to do what others expect of her and at a loss as to what she should do with her life. In the end, despite all of the pressure on her by the agency and her boyfriend to be straight and pursue a career as a spy, Amy, with the encouragement and blessing of the other girls in her squad, runs off with Lucy to live happily ever after, and go to art school in Spain. Despite being a campy and frivolous post-feminist film, Debs is, at its core, an endearing lesson about girls making their own choices, taking control of their own lives and sexuality, and supporting each other. Now, would we be talking about the spy genre if we didn't mention the romances we see? Debs is a combination of a spy film while also being a bit of a rom-com, as it is about a romance between two girls. It is commenting on the typical conventions in a spy film more than the teen spy genre does. With having young girls be these butt-kicking spies, they're breaking the standard conventions we see through older men, think James Bond. With having the love interest be a girl, then it provides a unique perspective that's not commonly seen in this media. The romance isn't forbidden because Amy's in love with Lucy, it's taboo because she's a criminal. Here's the cast talking about the staple romance.
I think it's a film about, for Amy, realizing kind of who she is and what she is and what makes her happy and what she wants.
But the story just happens to be about two girls who find their true sexuality. And I think it's really groundbreaking. I mean, I think right now people are open to new things.
I'm open to love, I am. It's not a big, big deal within the story. It's just treated so casually that I think that's kind of a nice thing.
And my goal was to have people have such a good time watching it that they didn't even realize that this message and kind of politics was kind of coming into their consciousness.
In regards to television shows, we saw the girls in Totally Spies be in a range of romances, some with the guys taking advantage of them, nothing long term. Over time, it ended up well for Kim as her and Ron got together and sowed the drama. The romances in Casey Undercover are rather forgettable, but one stands out among the rest, Brett. Brett comes in to work with Casey on a mission, but is found out to be working for the other side, seeking revenge on behalf of his father Zane. This love story is different, as even though Brett was the enemy and had the intention of using Casey, he fell in love with her and she saw the good in him. The ending of their love story is tragic, with Brett going on the run from the other side and never appearing after season 1, because you could see how good they were for one another. Team Impossible is a spy organization that charges people money to save them from danger. Having those in need of saving be the ones to pay for their assistance is a bit crazy because this should be a service. You need it. The episode has them mad they're losing business as Kim saves people for free, so they begin to remove Kim's transportation, making it very difficult for her to save the world. Eventually, Wade threatens them. They close down and join Global Justice, a non-profit. This brings up the capitalist nature of crime fighting, because yes, Kim does this for free, but she's also in a position to do this for free. Monetizing saving people is terrible ethically, but I understand. They need a job. At least in Global Justice, they're getting compensated by the organization, not the people that need saving. In regards to Kim Possible, The origins of Senior 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 and Senior Senior Junior happens because Ron gives them a suggestion to become villains. Ron tells them how their house looks like a lair and gives tips on how to become a villain. It made sense why they became villains, because they have a lot of money and a lot of free time on their hands. Other than Kim Possible, the other characters work for a government organization, not really having the power to choose their own missions. Casey Undercover has the family work for the organization. Throughout the show's run, they are fighting against the other side, and double agents work to bring one another down. The Girls and Totally Spies work for an international government organization, WHOOP. Debs directly talks about the political disadvantages of working for a spy organization, with the organization having a lot of power over the girls. This makes the politics seem as if there's only good or bad. Amy is writing a paper about women criminals, which is commenting on how this is a position that women aren't usually in. Think about it. In Kim Possible, for example, how many women villains do we see? There is Camille, Queen Bibi, and Adriana Lynn, but a lot of the villains are men. By the way, I love Camille's introduction in the show because having a villain that can shapeshift and is focused on stealing luxurious fashion pieces in one episode, and in the other stealing fashion designs so she can make money selling knockoffs, is genius. Also, a celebrity criminal is so fun, especially when voiced by Ashley Tisdale. Shigo is a sidekick to Draken, which we don't really see how she would do as a leader until A Stitch in Time, where she's the supreme leader and is able to become really successful once she comes out from under Draken. I think this could be why Kim catches them in every episode. In Amy's paper from Debs, she writes about how women are more ruthless to prove themselves when they're criminals in a male-dominated field. And Shigo is shown to match up well head-to-head with Kim because she goes for it more than the male villains. The male villains, especially when they meet Kim, underestimate her. In Totally Spies and Kim Possible, they have a major plot of the show being their conflicts with the mean girl, aka Mandy and Bonnie. Both can be menaces to the main characters, while also working with them to stop crime. Mandy is mostly the foe of Clover, as there's multiple episodes where they're directly competing with one another. In Ski Trip, Mandy gets kidnapped and the girls have to save her. In another episode, Evil Coffee Shop Much, Mandy joins the team after she finds the girls meeting with Gary and investigates the disappearances that are happening at a coffee house. Mandy is out of place on this mission and she hates it, demanding to quit after the mission ends. The mean girl can also be used by the villain to achieve their goals, turning evil and attaining some type of power. Bonnie comes along for a mission in one of the episodes and ends up falling for Junior, as he kidnaps a computer geek to help him find his perfect match. Both mean girls receive some depth to why they're the way they are. We learn Bonnie is teased by her older sisters, which causes her to lash out on Kim. Mandy has a posse in high school, but we don't see those friends carry into college, which makes me think that she's jealous of what Clover has. Friends. Totally Spies has the girls go undercover, similar to Casey Undercover, which leads to fun adventures for the girls. I liked how the missions themselves could be commenting on something. In the episode Model Citizens, the girls go undercover at a model agency that's doing something weird, and finds out the villain is stealing body parts to make the perfect model. This is scary because of the need to want a particular look, and we've seen how that's influenced beauty standards in society. There are several episodes throughout the show's run that seems to be commenting on society's beauty standards and what we consider beautiful, which makes sense in a show about teen girls. In the Casey Undercover episode, First Friend, she goes undercover at University of Maryland to keep an eye on the president's daughter, Eliza. This episode has Casey blow her cover and talks about the distinction between friend and assignment. She learns that it's okay to not see others just as an assignment, but as a friend. Fashion is a large part of these shows, as all of the characters, excluding Casey, had an interest in shopping and expressing themselves through their clothing. In Casey Undercover, Casey is shown to not care about girly things, not being interested in school dances and dressing up. In Debs, it's deliberate for the girls to be wearing a schoolwear uniform a lot of the time because it allows them to be underestimated and go a bit unnoticed. Each girl wears their uniform differently, as the skirts vary in length, with Dominique's being the shortest and Jane's the longest. Amy wears regular clothes the most, as that expresses her eventually leaving the academy. In Totally Spies, it has been noticed repeatedly how there are different outfits every episode. The girls weren't defined by one color or one style, and reflect trends of the time. In Kim Possible, her wardrobe changes as the seasons go along. We mostly see her in the beginning of the show in either a green tank top with jeans, her cheerleading uniform, and for missions, a long-sleeve black crop top with cargo pants. In the later seasons, we see new mission outfits and more casual outfits worn at school. Let's talk about some of my favorite episodes in the three shows. Team Go is one of the best episodes in Kim Possible, giving backstory to Shigo, where we find out she was at one point good, fighting evil with her brothers. As time goes on, Shigo starts to like evil when she kept fighting it. Higo's talking about the structure of Go Tower. This villain named Avarius, a vulture-like creature, is stealing the team's power, accidentally transferring Higo's super strength to Kim, and Shigo is needed to help stop him. Shigo and Kim really are foils of one another, as both understand being the only daughter in the family. With Shigo becoming a villain, similar to Kim becoming a hero, both were able to find something that their brothers couldn't do. An episode I really liked in Totally Spies was in Season 4, The OP, which the girls are on a vacation and end up in this community where everyone is nice and friendly. The girls are questioning why everyone does what they're told, specifically the children, like why do they have to go home at that time? The plot has the parents turn their children into mindless teenagers, which is such a good plot because these parents didn't like their kids. Instead of wanting to parent them and accept responsibility, they turned them into machines. The episode ends with the parents' punishment not being jail, just community service and classes to become a good parent. Therefore, not being harshly punished, aka prison, makes sense, since that would harm the kids as well. So basically, Totally Spies is against the prison industrial complex, so yes, rehabilitation. Another one worth talking about was the Season 5 premiere, Evil Graduation. The girls are graduating high school, and the villain, Chet, wants him, as well as his classmates, to stay in high school forever. So he builds a fake high school and traps everyone there. Something you realize when you watch the show is how you can sympathize with the villains because some had valid reasons for why they did it. Like having a fear of growing up and the uncertainty in your future. That's a normal fear. I like to think that it's purposeful, even if the villain goes about it in the wrong way. In Casey Undercover, there's a lot of two-parters or even multi-episode arcs. One arc that stood out was to begin Season 2, when Casey finds out about her cousin, Abby, then reunites her with her mom, Erica. Basically, the mom is in hiding and Abby works for the other side, so by bringing them together, it's bad news. Season 2, Episode 6, Brainwash, is the conclusion of this arc, where Casey and her family have to stop Erica, Abby, and the head of the other side, Abby's father. Casey's family is tasked with protecting the president at the presidential election party, with the other side's plan being to kill the president and control the VP. This fails, and even though they escape, this was a fun arc that really plays into how important family is in Casey Undercover. When the show concludes, Casey decides to go to Stanford and continue being a spy, and that wouldn't be possible without the support of her family. The phenomenon of teen spies goes beyond just girls. Just look at Alex Rider. Even though the average teenager isn't a teen spy, they represent how teens have so much responsibilities. To get into college, we need to be well-rounded, good at sports, good at academics, involved in our community, the list goes on and on. The busyness in this time of our lives makes us relate to these characters, because if they can juggle it all, then why can't we? Now, I'm still waiting on my Gallinger Girls adaptation, a cute television series where they cover 2 books per season. In the meantime, the spy genre, particularly teen spies, isn't going anywhere.